Who knew that a game focused on ripping and tearing had this much exciting hidden lore underneath it? I'm Borkowski, and I hope you've been enjoying the lore series that I've been producing for Doom Eternal. It's very surprising, all the hidden stories and hidden characters that you can find if you have the impetus to look. Today, I want to talk about a faction in the game that I have found fascinating, the Sentinels. I want to talk about their hidden history, read through the Book of Kings, and just give you a sense of this faction and what they meant for the world of Doom and what they could mean for the future. I read now from the Ligra Soltigenta, the Book of Kings, an unabridged telling of the history of the Sentinels, their reign, the creation of the Night Sentinels, and eventually their fall. In the days before man first spoke, an immense shard of rock and metal was cast unto the world from the heavens. Thunder and cataclysm shook the land as the skies were torn asunder. The cosmic spear cleft a hole through our mortal lands, pole to pole, from the cold wastes of the umbral plains to the fetid swamps of Iron Fang. The womb of the world opened, and the eternal wraiths, the firstborn, spilled forth. They took to the skies, fierce in their emancipation. In their exultation they brought vitality to the land, and all that felt their breath were awakened from eternal slumber. Fierce beasts, an unforgiving biosphere, rose in the passing of their shadow as the wraith call echoed across Argent D'Nur. First came the Ancestrals, feral creatures invigorated by the magic of the wraiths. They grew to enormous heights, mighty behemoths who waged war with each other for years untold. Their battles tore the land asunder and destroyed all creation caught in their wake. The wraith call continued to spread across the land, and soon the Argenta emerged from the steppe, our souls stirred into form by the power of their breath. The Titans towered over the will-blooded tribes, but found them uncowed. The secret of the sword was discovered, and in the darkness of sweltering mountain forges, we beat steel until it was strong enough to pierce bone and sever flesh. Thus we came to be, born of rock and fire, lowly in birth, but risen by the strength of our will. By the blessedness of the first ones, we forged sword and shield and took the hammer to the Ancestrals. We claimed dominion of creation by the right of blood and magic, and the time of man came to be. With the ancestral beasts driven back to their bleak valleys, we rose. We tilled the fertile land, husband beasts of burden, and built towering cities. In the hallowed place, on the obsidian throne, we crowned King Ormuro the Father, the first of the line that shall reign in perpetuity. We built the Cathedral of Reflection to worship the first ones, and formed the Order of the Dag, whose priests pay tribute to the wraiths and appease their tempestuous hunger. Our sons and daughters chose the path of the sword or the path of the alchemist, for each duty honors the gods. Though our ways were righteous, we were not without strife. Storms and great quakes cast our spires down. Barbaric tribes laid siege to our fields in search of the great gifts Mother Argenta had bestowed upon our world, and the song of the wraith call threatened to drive lesser men into madness. We were not lesser men. We defended that which the first ones gifted to us, our lands, and the right to bounty held within. We beat back the barbarian hordes and hardened our resolve. We rose above the fire, our bodies and souls tempered. An unbreakable will was shaped in the forge of battle. What emerged was the heart of our legion, the Order of the Night Sentinels. In the time of grief, when King Ectrix took the throne, a blessing came to the people of Argenta. White porcelain beings from a world above our own brought gifts to D'Nur. Observers to our great deeds, admirers of our conviction, they sought to make bond with our swords and bring lasting order to our world. These were beings unlike any we had seen before. Sword and shield held no weight against them, for the eternal flesh of these luminous beings seemed unbound by mortality. Able to move through time and space, they held sway over all dominions of the known and unknown dimensions. Through their ways we grew stronger, our society bolstered by their infinite wisdom and all-knowing power, assuring our people's safety for all time. In this world and the next, where we sharpened the blade and mastered our magic, they bolstered the soul and spirit. Death would no longer be the end for our people, the ones we call the Makyrs. Our new allies in this brutal world have given us the security in death we fought so hard to achieve in life. We would find eternal peace, and our minds would rest easy with the knowledge that those we fought alongside in battle would join us in the lands beyond the mortal plane. The strength of our ways, the purity of our essence, would, by Makyr law, grant us passage to the great city in the clouds. There, our women and children, warriors and king alike, would welcome us. We adopted the holy doctrines of the Makyrs, gifted in exchange with the chance to earn eternal rest for our immortal souls in blessed Urdak. The covenant we held, now under the embrace of our new gods, fostered a peace we had never known. For there were, unlike the first ones, whose presence offered no paradise from fear and uncertainty of existence in a harsh and unforgiving world. The Makyrs' embrace was warm and guided us into an era of spiritual prosperity. With machine and enhancement of the Makyrs, the Argenta brought our newfound clarity to the disparate realms of the Empyrean Void. We took flight with the support of our gods, spreading the enlightened word of the Khanmaker. We discovered there was not one enemy, but many. Worlds and peoples unknown to the Argenta were unveiled, and we saw our own suffering reflected in their eyes. Our righteous army strode into battle under the banner of the Night Sentinels and fought for the freedom of all peoples from the grasp of those who would exploit and prey upon them. Though we battled on soil not our own, the blood we shed in foreign land safeguarded Argent D'Nur and the sons and daughters that defended it. Through the strange peoples we liberated, new alliances were formed, and our beliefs became their own. Our armies swelled. As the Argenta traversed the stars with gleaming war fleets, the Khan of Makyrs approached King Rowan on his throne. He sensed his gods restless by her disquiet manner. The king and Khan spoke, and the god revealed she had foreseen a schism in the blood of the Argenta. A test would be required to identify its hosts among us. She spoke of a holy rite to be performed on the strongest of our warriors. Only those that proved worthy would be tested, for the impurity could reside in only the most resilient of our legion. The divinity machine, a great tribute by Makyr Scalaris, would help us to cleanse any impurities from our flock, ensuring our continued prosperity in this world and in the Makyr realm that awaited in the afterlife. The malicious one, if not exhumed from our ranks, would jeopardize our safe passage to the heavenly realm of Urdak. The Dark One was not amongst them yet, nor would he be for many generations. Only the Mother God, through divination and Makyr sight, would determine when he stood before them. The Makyrs were truth, and only their unclouded eyes could find the one who was marked. The prophecy of the Unholy One was written, but though the ages, the warning grew faint, until only the Makyr herself and the High Priestess of the Order of Dag still whispered of he that would one day come to threaten their way of light. In the time of King Novik, as the Argenta secured peace and safety through dimension across time and space, an Outlander came to us. He was not of our world and spoke an ugly tongue. How he first took step upon our land was unknown. Sentinel scouts had found the Outlander bloodied, clawed, and near death, mumbling of impending doom and the forces of darkness. The scent of blood followed him, and the gore that stained his armor seemed not entirely his own. By Argenta law, the stranger would be judged in the Colosseum, where he would be given the chance of all who stray from the path to fight for his freedom. We knew not of this stranger. His mind seemed crippled with rage. He dressed in attire not suited for our lands and carried munition of arcane origin. We watched as his will overcame his injuries, and in the blood arena, he proved his worth. The Outlander's technique was crude and brutal, but the determination in his charge echoed that any of true-born Sentinel blood. His war cry echoed still through the Colosseum, as did the sound of his fury, as guards cheered his banner. "Rip and tear," they shouted, as the beast pushed beyond mortal wounds and certain death. He would be gifted no rank, no title. The survivors in the arena were provided only one reward: the right to earn an honorable death while spreading the blessing of the Maker to those in need. The Outlander's determination was witnessed, his ravings documented, and through the word of the Order of Dag, the Con Maker had him brought before her. She set her minions to learning his tongue, for with his ugly words he spoke of lands unseen, creatures born of fire, and a dark place unknown to the Queen and her caste. Yet another opportunity to expand the gift of the Maker to those in need. On the eve of the Black Star, the Dark Ones came from a world beneath our own, not through ship nor ephemeral vessel, but through the fabric of dimensions. Out of swirling fiery gates came horned beasts from a timeless realm. First one, then many. Crashing waves of evil swelled from the obsidian forest of the Argenta overlands. The Alorum clans from the eastern mountains fell first to the black hordes of devils, and the city of Tellurum was slung under the weight of their charge. We Sentinels rose to meet the beasts with spear in hand, and the might of the holy fleet striking back at the demons. But the dark gates from whence they came gave birth still to even greater hordes. A line of blood was drawn within the fallen of both sides, and the unholy wars began as the time of darkness came upon us. Unlike enemies of the past, we could not contain the demons emergent from their dark realm. Their weaponry was not conjured from machined steel, but from the essence of their very being, a dark magic not known to us in our many conquests. Had we grown overconfident, our victories serving to dull our blade as we drank in the glory of our expanding empire? Lost. We knew not of how to prevail against this foe. The Maker God stood perplexed, and our engineers and priests scrambled to find the advantage in battle we so desperately needed. Unknown to the enemy, we were pushed to the brink of defeat, and our God stood with us as we worked to find an answer. The Order of the Dag were the first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. The priests were able to capture several of these beasts and set about to identify the source of their power. It was then that the essence of the Dark Realm was discovered. Not wholly unlike our own, this power was the life essence that flowed through their twisted form and powered their attacks. It could be harnessed to power our own weapons, giving the Argenta the chance to combat the demons on even footing. The priests believed that with greater knowledge of the essence, we could discover its source and cut it off from the demons to strangle their armies from from within, allowing us to regain the advantage we required for victory on the battlefield. The Khan Maker gave this blessing to our Majesty and directed the priest to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Scarlet Elixir from the demonic realm, for she sought only to return balance to our universe. Proper assimilation was required, as hell stood beyond her influence. After great effort, the priests discovered more than they had ever hoped for. They learned of the true nature of the demonic energy and how it could strengthen those skilled enough to harness its power. The energy coursing through the malformed bodies of our relentless enemy could be used to end life or to enhance it. The power to heal, to mend, immortality, knowledge, and enlightened faculties beyond our understanding. With the demon's life force in the skilled hands of the Sentinel priests and under the righteous gaze of the Khan Maker, our people would not only rise to victory over the unholy horde that clawed at our walls, we would move to a higher plateau of existence, ushering in a new era of military science and industrial healing. No Sentinel would grow sick. No Maker would need to suffer the transfiguration that they so feared. All would be risen. No one could ever oppose our peaceful ways and threaten our world again. True balance over hell and its legions, over space and time in this world and all others. We would dictate the order. United with the Makers, we would find peace eternal. The Khan Maker demanded a tithe of the essence, and driven by her desire, the priests submitted themselves to her will. The Order of Dag took counsel with the king, speaking only of the spoiled lands, sure to be found through the Clafting creation, and the opportunity to purge the new invaders from Argent D'Nur. We took the war to their cursed lands, pressing through the gates of wizardry. There was one among us who seemed to know the true nature of these foul demons. It was the Outlander, the stranger who had come to us from places unknown, he who had survived in the front lines far longer than any Sentinel-born prisoner had before. His passion for battle against the vile horde was evident, his lust for their destruction matching our own. Though Argent D'Nur remained a foreign land to him, his fervor caught the attention of the inquisitors of the Sentinel Guard, some whispering of a suspected allegiance he held in secret with the demons. Silencing the critics, King Novak deemed him worthy of selection. The signifiers brought a commission to our king, and it was decided that he be lifted from the common rabble. Though no arena-born prisoner has ever been granted the honor, the Knight Sentinels broke tradition and deemed the Outlander worthy of training. A number of disciples grumbled and chafed at the barbarian present in their ranks, but in the war with the demons, all opportunities for even the slightest advantage was to be considered, and as they witnessed the stranger spar with their hall masters, they found in him an undying, unrelenting compatriot. This man was an outsider, friend to none, and yet rose each time he was thrown to the dirt of the circle. Battered and bruised, his brow stained with blood, he rose with grim determination for the chance to face his enemies in armed combat once again. Time passed as the stranger was instructed in the codified matrices of their order, the ancient lessons of battle and brotherhood taught to all Sentinels. He could sense the opportunity before him. Soon all of hell would feel his wrath once again. Satisfied that he would not be a detriment to their prowess, the Knight Sentinels granted him his wish as they ventured through the hell gates with the stranger in tow. They knew no rest, fighting in the unnatural elements and training under the blood moon of night. The stranger suffered exhaustion, wounds, and sickness, but asked for no aid. and offered none. 3 times the Night Sentinels ventured into the gate and back, and upon every return, the stranger strode more capable than before, his gait locked in step with the march of the Sentinels, a disciplined and now controlled lust for demon blood ever present. The passing of years and in numerous battles with the devils indentured the stranger to Argentine's mightiest warriors, and no longer did they consider him as a new-blooded conscript, for to them he had become a brother in arms forged in war, an ally, a weapon. As we warred with the beasts, the Argenta society grew under the watchful eye of the Makers and through the endless power of the Essence. While our generals were consumed with the unholy war, our culture was marked by the beautiful potion the enemy had provided us, the sweet elixir. It brought us immeasurable capacity and empowered us to reach farther into dimensions once thought to be beyond our grasp. Under the direction of our Maker gods and the engineering of our high priests, our weapons blazed and our war machines stormed. The throngs of populace drank deeply from the well of energy unveiled by the priests, but we of the Night Sentinels took no part in their abundance. Some among us whispered accusations and warnings against this manner of progress, but they were quelled, as it was not our role to dictate the future of our people, only to defend it. As the Black Star ascended to its zenith, King Novik sat restless on his throne as a howling darkness began to assemble just beyond the mountain rise to the east. The blights came upon us in droves, flooding forth from the hell grates with merciless fury. They brought with them a monstrous titan, the Dreadnought, a beast to rival the stature and menace of even the mightiest ancestral. The grotesque giant laid waste to all before him, crushing all in his path. This was a total demonic assault, striking at the heart of Argent D'Nur as never before. How was it that the behemoth could pass through the demonic gates without warning? We would never know, though. The Night Sentinels believed treason was at play. Caught off guard, the Sentinels scrambled late in defiance of the Titan and his horde, and with his coming, the holy city of Taris Nabad prepared for judgment. With the onslaught of the demons massed in the sprawling shadow of the abhorrent fiend, the city shook to its foundation. None were spared, save those that fled north. The vile swarm ransacked our temples and palaces, burning our towers and feasting on the souls of our clergy. Yet the Night Sentinels rallied and held fast against the demons, though they were pushed back and corralled at the blood arena. As the dark of night descended, their swords remained potent and shred the enemy multitude with abandon. Amidst the unyielding ranks of sentinels, when all other apprentices had fallen in battle, stood the Outlander. Rip and tear, he roared, ferocious in battle. The remaining conscripts of the arena stood in awe as they witnessed the beast who had once raged within their very cells, now armored alongside the shoulders of his sentinel brethren. He had risen where none other had before, a true-born sentinel fighter, the very best among them. But though the swarm fell before their assault, the Titan remained invincible, for no one could tame the behemoth alone. In the hours before the dawn, as the Night Sentinels weathered the relentless assault, the Outlander held his ground at the foot of the Great Wall in the northern bend of the castle. Seeing his unending vigor, Samur, Chancellor to the Mother God, hurried the Outlander away under the veil of secrecy, and for reasons unknown, submitted him to a rite untold. This was heresy, for Samur received no consent from the Khan Maker, nor did he receive her counsel. In the Chapel of Purity, the Outlander submitted himself to the divinity machine, where Samur Maker, the Seraphim, known to us only as the aid to the Mother God, blessed the Outlander with fierce speed and power to match his will. It was the method by which this transfusion took place that was most uncertain to us, for we were of the knowledge that the Makyr device bestowed onto the Argenta so many generations ago was to be used by the priests only to find the impurities among us. How could it be that this device was meant to cull the Sentinel breed of its contaminants, could then be used to purify the Outlander's body and give rise to one who would lead us in battle henceforth? What rose from the holy coffin on that fateful day was not the impure abomination the Covenant warned of us. The hero within would come to be known as the Great Slayer, the Time Walker, the warrior Khan whose fire sword would blaze forth a path for just and cut through the demonic horde with a vengeance that only a God King could summon. He rose, unbroken by the ritual, his eyes burning with Makyr magic. He took the crucible in his hand, and wraith fire leapt forth from his blade, as only it will when held by a true Sentinel warrior king. In our darkest hour, the Slayer had been chosen, defying tradition, our most sacred laws, and the will of the Great Khan herself. A stranger to our lands, had been blessed with celestial might. With the coming of the Slayer, the Night Sentinels took the campaign deeper into the heartland of the demons than ever before. Mighty Atlans were brought forth, tearing paths through the hordes of hell, alongside the Slayer and his army. The High Priests, under the guidance of the Mother God, had found means to gain entry to the innermost regions of the demon world, and with the Dag's presence, new gates could be opened. Our war machines were unstoppable, wrought with Makyr technology, enhanced by the very essence our enemies hurled against us as our armies drove deeper and deeper into the blood-drenched territory of the demons. Countless victories were assured with the power of the Slayer, for with the Alpha Infector at the fore of our pack, we brought certain doom to our foes. And though our hearts were pure and our purpose righteous, unbeknownst to the fighters of Argenta, in our wake and under the veil of secrecy, the Mother God had set her priests to build vast factories upon the heathen lands, that she might gather the essence for further development. How this deception began, we would not know, for our forces remained on the hordes of the underworld. Why then would we stoop so low as to consider our Mother God of betraying our covenant? The Khan Maker did not seem at ease with the unforeseen rise of our Slayer, and the Seraphim who had birthed the Destroyer in secret soon vanished from Urdak, perhaps exiled for his heresy. Our legions rose unfettered under the unquenchable rage of the Doomsayer, and his design led the Khan Maker to find profit in his endorsement. It soon became known that the Slayer was the Makyr's god machine, a holy relic reborn, sent to bring the Makyr's word to the wicked and to smite those who would seek to harm all who followed the path to Urdak. With the Slayer unwittingly cleaving a path for her, the Mother God siphoned the essence, processing it beyond our knowledge into the fuel that would be known as Argent Energy. The Slayer cared not for polity. He took no interest in the workings of our people, but set his task only on his desire, the destruction of the demons and their world. He no longer spoke for reasons unknown, though it was understood that he still possessed the ability, offering only guttural hefts of anger as he inflicted pain upon his enemies. For years he marched with the Night Sentinels through the fires of the demon lands, and every return to our homeland found much changed in Argent D'Nur. Should any blame be appointed to the Sentinels, it is this: in our fervor, we were negligent of our people and did not see the rising tide of evil. Our crusade empowered, we knew only the enemy laid before us and the wealth of Argenta at our backs, and did not pause to see the cost and the method of this progress. Yet as the Slayer and the Night Sentinels battled the demonic host, their failure to act outside the confines of their duty allowed the rancor of the Essence to grip the Argenta. It was on a mission deep within the boiling seas of the Netherrealm, where the Order of the Six reside, that a company of Night Sentinels learned of the Conmaker's true dealings with these callous beasts. By the Maker's design, it was kept secret from the Sentinels and the Argent people alike that the essences we had grown so reliant on during this war were compromised of the very spirits of our brothers and sisters who had fallen to these vile creatures. The truth had been uncovered that all beings who found their end by the demonic horde would become a vassal of the hellscape, their flesh in time twisted into the very demons we fight, their souls extracted to create the essence that powers their world and ours. The victims were the enemy, and the enemy would become us. The soldiers stood in awe at the base of a factory dedicated to such action, a place where the bodies of the slain were sorted and processed, tortured for the mill to have their souls extracted through sinister magic. Enormous vats of pain and suffering, ethereal energy, the haunting sound of lost souls awash in an eternity of servitude, transformed into energy to power our struggle against the dark realm and its malice. But worse than this grim reality was the discovery of the machinery which was used to enact the vile process of our fallen had been subjected to. But worse than this grim reality was the discovery of the machinery which was used to enact the vile process our fallen had been subjected to, for it was not by hoof and claw that this blasphemous technology had come to pass, but by the hands of the Argenta, guided by the Mother God's desires. We had fallen deep within the grasp of the enemy. What we had fought against would not reveal itself to be true, as without countenance we could hold no sway over the Argenta populace. Regardless, the honor of the Night Sentinels would have to hold up the verity of these claims, and the Mother God could be our divinity no more. In secret corridors and clandestine conferences, the Night Sentinels would find those amongst them who similarly distrusted the essence and had foretold the swelling corruption. Once the truth could be shared, the skeptics became members of the Sentinel insurrection, and the breach between the holy and unholy Argenta began to grow. The truth could not be denied. The unholy spires raised in the barren lands functioned by the blessings of Makyr machinery. The Khan had betrayed Argent D'Nur and had made concert with demons to harvest their essence, in return granting them access to all the worlds under her influence. A symbiotic relationship had formed, and darkness now had been balanced by a light. For where there was heaven, so there would be a hell. The followers would be granted passage to Urdak. The sinners would fall into the fiery pits of the dark realm. This world would be spread from all cultures, in all worlds, and in all places. We were not without blame, for it was our people, the priests and sentinel engineers, who had laid the work in place. Argenta's slaves had built the dark factories, and our own ancient wraith energy helped purify Hell's elixir into the miracle fuel that now powered the Maker's world and our own. The Night Sentinels spoke of the evil brought by the essence and carried their words to all who would listen. We had helped to create this new dichotomy, and so it must be for the Argenta to stop the spread of this pestilence, this new phase of existence, the dark and the light. It is not for us, then, for the innocent, whose worlds have yet to fall under the spell of the Maker God and her unseen allies in the Hell dimension. Even when the Night Sentinels returned from the demonic realm with tales of slave factories that damned the souls of the innocent, the indoctrinated masses of Argent D'Nur took new quarrel with the Makers. They were indebted to the demon essence. The ministers deliberated, but finding no basis for change. The messengers were cast down for daring to speak against those who had gifted us so much, our gods. The Makers, in their infinite wisdom, would see fit that the faithful continue life anew in Urdak. They feared the wrath of the Godmother. A lifetime of servitude would not be undone by this insurrection. This was simply another trial, a test of faith to identify those who were truly worthy to experience life eternal in Urdak. The Argenta would not waver in their resolve. The Night Sentinels prepared for war once again, though this battle meant drawing the blood of their own brothers. Our army had seen the work of the demons firsthand and knew its evil. They had returned to the way of the wraiths, and though their armaments were diminished without the essence, it remained pure and righteous. A division amongst the Argenta had occurred, one side standing in opposition to the doctrine of the Makers, the other locked in belief. The ascended empire was compromised of the faithful and the misled, wielding the desecrated energies of hell, the power of the Makers, the marauders who had sided with the Khan. The Night Sentinels were bolstered by the free people of Argenta and the mightiest of all killers, the Slayer himself. Plans and tactics were drawn. The Sentinels would close the Argent energy factories in Necroval, that which feed the world of Urdak directly with its supply of fresh essence. That would stop the flow. The slumbering wraiths would wake from their sleep and give Argent D'Nur courage once again. For years, the Civil War raged and took its toll on the soldiers as their armor laid stained with the blood of their brothers on a cursed battlefield. Finally, an opportunity to end the war had been discovered by the Order of the Dag and the Night Sentinels. With the Slayer at the head of their army, they gathered to traverse through the gate and sunder Necroval, the city of the dead. The Order of the Dag, the high priests who had pledged their alliance long ago to the Night Sentinels, worked in service of our mission. These holy priests who had served the Argenta since time immemorial assured us that the way was clear. A plan was set to march into the accursed walls of Necroval and smite the factory, cutting off the flow of essence to Urdak and denying the Khan Maker of her prize. Our forces took spear in hand and advanced. It was there that the venom of treachery struck. Upon entry through the hell portal, the Night Sentinels were scattered to the winds of unplanned chaos. Our warriors were separated, our ranks split as the gates twisted and hurled them across the unholy realm. Some of our warriors appeared near to the gate they had walked before, but found that the vile priests had barred the way back. Then the trap was sprung, and each lone Argenta found himself beset upon by bloodthirsty multitudes of demonic beasts. Let it be known that it was not the priests alone who had failed the northern armies, but one of the Sentinels' own. Hell found his weakness and exploited it to the demise of Argent D'Nur. If not for the betrayer's stroke of madness, the Wraith's power would still be our own, and the Sentinel flag would still rise above Argent D'Nur to this day. Scattered in hell, abandoned by their clergy and reinforcements, the Sentinels proved their worth in what would be their final war with the forces of evil. Unrelenting power in the face of certain death, the Sentinels crushed hundreds of demons and skewered titans. When their Atlans held no more fuel, the Sentinels took to ground and fought the swarms on land. All of hell knew of the betrayal, for it was without question the Makers and the priests who had sowed the seeds of deceit long before the brave warriors passed through the gates. What hell saw that day was the beating heart of the free people of Argent D'Nur. They did not flinch in the face of their own certain death. They died as they lived, with sword and shield in hand. Urdak too low a place to house such giants. Theirs would be the fate of warrior gods, remembered for all time. Lord Sash, the stalwart banner sergeant, was found with his war standard pierced through the heart of a great beast, his body surrounded by the corpses of enemies. Roan the Mighty, the light faded from his eyes, had eviscerated such a multitude that their entrails clung to the black rocks like vines. Gore, relentless until the end, had broken his blade on the back of his foes, and by the time he fell, he had slain another 200 with his hands alone. The priests believe the Sentinels all slain, but we are Argenta, born to overcome. Rumors, deemed heretical by the Order of Dag, persist and claim that the Slayer himself still rages in the unholy realm. None who live can know, for the future of Argent D'Nur has been bent and twisted by the perverted vision of the essence drinkers. Never again will the light of wraiths illuminate our world. All has fallen. If the Slayer does live, let him carry our vengeance forward. If he persists, let him wreak violence on those who have wronged us. May the blood of his sword never dry, may his war never end until the guilty have been punished, and may this evil never again spread its shadow over another world.